Hey everyone, my name is Nicole and you're watching the Self-Love series. Today's topic is how does mental health and self-esteem link? I'm going to go into a few of the struggles I've had with self-esteem. I'd love to hear your feedback on how you've struggled with it to start the conversation and get the message out there that we need to start empowering each other in this lifetime. At least for me, I work at a psychiatric hospital, like I mentioned in the last video, and one of the biggest themes I see there is lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, whether the patient is homicidal or suicidal. It all stems from that self-esteem, that place of self-value, self-worth, true healthy self-worth. So what is healthy self-esteem? And one of the quotes that somebody on another post mentioned was, the most courageous act is to be and own all that you are without apology, without excuses, and without all the masks that cover the truth of who you are. And a lot of us are out there wearing masks, and myself included, just to look a certain way, or to get the attention of other people, or who knows what the reason is. But I'm here to just come from a place of I want to tell you my story and my view on self-esteem. Some of you might agree, some of you might disagree. That's okay. Everyone has their own opinion, I'm sure, about this topic, and I'd love to hear. That's the whole reason I'm putting this out there, is just to get you guys thinking about it, start talking about it, and leave any comments below. One of the main things that I have, so let's get into, as an adult, how have I struggled with this? So number one is, I think I've looked for external validation in my life. So looking for worth from social media, the number of likes I get on a post, the comments that I get, the type of comments, the who am I getting the comments from? So again, external validation, looking to magazines, newspapers, or movies, external, billboards or whatever, to have that define who I am, and how to look. It's like media has an agenda with us to look a certain way, or to think a certain way, to be something that we're not. So number two, I would say, is looking for my own self-worth in movies and magazines, celebrities, whatever. I see that a lot of times the kids come into our hospital and they do that. It's a comparison story. Number three, biggest one for me, looking for my own self-worth in another man. I'll just put it right out there. Does validation come from this man, or does it come from me? This is what I started to wake up to when I started to attract a series of the same type of man. They say that you'll attract the same type of relationship until you change something about yourself, your attitude, your self-worth. Until you start to realize your own self-worth, then you'll keep attracting the same type of person. And for me, it's always been to attract the narcissist, the type that take advantage, or do the blame game a lot, or not take responsibility for themselves, not even know what they're feeling, so then they project it onto me, and then I feel bad because the inner child inside of me is feeling like she's lacking something, that she's at fault or wrong, because that's how I grew up. I didn't know boundaries growing up, perhaps, and I didn't know how to set healthy boundaries. And it could have been that I lived a more sheltered life, and that my parents sheltered me to the point where I fell down and I didn't have to learn how to get back up. And that builds self-esteem as a child, letting the child fall down, not necessarily helping them to get back up, and learning how. That's what's going to build self-esteem, is learning to fail in life, and learn how to get back up. So then as an adult, it's something that I think that I struggled with. So that's the question I have for you, is where does unhealthy self-esteem come from? So a lot of times I see women, they are attracting that same type of man, the narcissist, or the one that takes advantage, and they're wondering why, and they're just thinking, I'm just going to give up on love. And I've been there, the cynic of love, like I'm not going to do it anymore. I give up. I'm just meant to live a solitary single life. And I have been there. And so it's because I was looking for my validation in the man, and honestly, that's not where it comes from. Um, it comes from within our self-talk. What are we telling ourselves? And then I think I'm on number 5 or 4. I look for self-worth as a clinician, as a therapist in the clients. I'm just gonna put it out there. If they tell me I'm a good therapist, then I'm doing good. If they tell me I'm a crappy therapist, then I'm doing bad. But what is that? That's a conditioned thought. It's taking someone else's opinions and making them my own. So until I woke up to this one day, I got a client that was so angry at me, and right in the middle of the family session, he goes, "You're a effing horrible therapist. I never want to talk to you again. I hate you. I want a different therapist." And it shocked me because I had set a boundary with him and he didn't like it, so that's the way he responded. And so it wasn't me, it was his own anger projected. And so that's a lot of what this is that other people are just living out their reality and they're projecting onto us. It's nothing to do with us. So that's actually one of the four agreements is don't take anything personally, right? So that woke me up to a very real truth that if I'm looking outside to receive validation that I'm a good anything, or that I'm worthy, or that I am enough, then I am always going to come up short. I'm always going to be disappointed every single time. So where and one of the things I want to say is this is all as an adult, but how did it actually get to this point? How do we as adults actually get to this point where we feel bad, or we feel less than, we feel not enough? Where does that come from? Well, it stems from childhood, in my opinion. In childhood, for example, I got a beaded necklace pulled off of my neck in the middle of gym class because some boy felt that he wanted to do that, and all the beads flew everywhere in the gym, and all the kids were laughing, staring at me, and so from there, I developed a message, and that message was, I'm rejected. The feeling was embarrassment, of course. I'm not good enough. I'm not likable by the other kids. So after several instances of that happening, 13 years old, I was in CCD class, Catholic church. On the one side, the girls sat. On the other side, the boys sat. And I was wearing this sparkly eyeshadow to attract the attention of a boy that I had a crush on. The priest comes over and says, "Nicole, do you think if I would attach two shiny metal trash cans, one to each butt cheek, that would attract the attention of the women?" I was so appalled. I was so embarrassed that he had said that in front of the whole class, especially my crush, and I started crying. And is that like shame, the shame that came from that. And it might not seem like a big deal now, but as a little kid, a little 12 or 13-year-old, it was a big deal. So we see that how we are as children, we create these messages in our head, and as kids, we don't know how to process it. We don't know how to process those feelings. And so we become attached to that message, and we start to internalize everything. And then growing up, after several instances of that happening, it's almost like we start to look for it to happen. Like, I'm not lovable, so then I look for that in my mate. Oh, he just did that, so that means I'm not lovable. She just did that, that means I'm not lovable, right? And then as an adult, we see how this manifests in relationship and in friendships even. So with that being said, I just want to hear how have you struggled with this in your own life, and how do you overcome it? For me, overcoming it has been in definitely surrounding myself with positive people, doing yoga, breathing, and then recently getting up and telling myself every single morning, my mantra has been, "Nicole, you're a badass." Or, "Nicole," mine is, "I am a magnetic goddess attracting all I need in every moment. I am safe. Everything is happening for my highest good." These are the mantras that I started to adopt, and I swear to you, nothing has helped me more, because you're creating a new neural pathways in the brain. Literally, you're rewiring your brain every time you say that to yourself. You are enough. You are worthy. And just the simple act of saying it, I've said it every day for, I want to say 2 or 3 months since the last breakup. And it has really, really empowered me. So what do you do for self-empowerment? What do you do to overcome the low self-esteem?